I'm your host, Will D. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about sports first. So, as far as baseball goes, the Yankees are leading as they should in the AL East. But they are about second or third in the entire American League. It's still really early on in the season. Not much to, celebrate or, worry about. But it's always nice to know that the right team is going in the right direction. On the National League side, we have the Mets fourth in their division. But what kills me is that in the same division, the team that has found a way to contaminate other teams in Major League Baseball, the Marlins, are leading their division with a 7-5 record, which isn't the most wins in the division, but I guess is the best average. But I don't even know how they're still qualifying. They should have just been kicked out the league immediately. Here's the thing. You have sports traveling all the time during normal conditions, right? But you have a sports franchise in a state that has growing numbers on a heavy level, and you think it's a good idea to have people who live within this area to travel places. And not just that, but have people even travel to them. I get the whole home field thing, this, that, and the third, but in all honesty, folks, it didn't make any sense. So for the Marlins to have spread any COVID-19 to any other team, it was just bound to happen. Bound to happen. Now, opposite of that, you have another sport that's actually running, trying to finish off a season and all that, and that's the NBA and the NBA bubble. Now, there have been a couple of cases of people who have gotten COVID during the bubble experiment, and they all got it leaving. Why? Because the bubble is in Florida. But for everybody else who's healthy and everybody who's playing, the fact of the matter is this: it looks like a successful thing. Now, since the bubble is kind of finishing off last season, the Bucks and the Lakers are the number one seeded teams going into the playoffs. That is going to happen. But the teams with the best records that are looking like, as they should, are the Pacers in the East and the Suns in the West. So you may be surprised because of the COVID break how things turned out. It's as if the brand new season has started. It hasn't. And I think you're going to see some surprises as far as who would be the 2019-2020 season champion. As of now, we're going to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some stuff happening in the news and the media. And I got something special today about what irks me. So, Charles, if you could, take us to our first commercial break.
As mighty armies clash in a struggle for total domination, the scales can be tipped by one man who has the courage to confront his fate and make a choice that will decide the fate of the world.
Guys put a lot of smoke in today. Wow. But anyway, we expecting a real superhero? I don't think so. The real life superheroes are the ones that are helping out in their community today. And the LDM show will be there to bring you the events and stories to life. Do you know a real superhero? Let us know. But for now, follow us on Instagram and Twitter and like us on Facebook. Also visit our websites for photos, videos, and updates. But until the meantime, hey, I gotta be out of here.
She's so fake.
She's such a slut. You can see the layers on her face.
Look at her chicken legs. Oh my god.
How short is that skirt?
I can't believe she'd even put that on.
Is that her dress? It's not even on her hardly.
It's not even covering her up.
It's actually disgusting.
Oh my god.
How can she do her hair like
I don't even know how this girl has
I
friends.
saw her talking to Holden the other day. Who does she think she is?
I bet she slept with the whole football team. She's not even pretty. She's gained so much weight. She looks like a cow.
Such a good idea. Watch this.
You're good. Oh my god, that's so funny. You gotta post that. I got an idea past this.
Oh my god.
Alright, we're back. So a couple of things that are happening. One, we have The Rock buying the XFL. So The Rock is buying Vince McMahon, the guy who owns WWE's football league. For those of you who don't know, The Rock used to play football before he was a wrestler, and a wrestler before he was an actor. You got to be really young if you don't remember The Rock as a wrestler. But yeah, I'm realizing more and more just how old I am. So I've started to just date and say all these things to kind of just explain stuff. So yeah. So he bought this league. So now he's going to be running his own football league, which I think is just awesome. The XFL existed a long time ago. It didn't last after the first year of doing it. They brought it back just last year, and it did okay. And a lot of people are hoping that the XFL can become a league that maybe can be like considered a minor league to football, which we do have arena football already, but obviously it's not drawing in the same attention. And maybe the XFL can do that because they took some of the old school football rules and they made it, a rougher sport in a sense. And I know in an era where people are afraid of football injury or whatever, football fans are still looking for more at times and looking for something that's more like rugby. That's just really what it is, and we just don't have televised rugby here too often. But I think it's a good move. I think that's The Rock putting his name on anything is usually something good for the franchise. He's just a real likable person. He's a real popular celebrity. He's a huge personality and a nice guy. And I know that with The Rock also comes Under Armour endorsements. So as far as the XFL continuing, I don't know how the deal was brokered in a sense if Vince will actually have anything to do with it, but knowing that it's his baby and now it's powered by The Rock, I think we can see something where, a lot of fans were talking last year about how the champion of the XFL should be able to replace the worst ranked football team. And we've had seasons where teams won maybe one game or no games. And the XFL champion should be able to replace that team in the NFL the next year. Maybe with this kind of promotional thing, maybe they can build some sort of interleague capability like that. I know there are a couple other sports where you see the semi-pro league have some sort of switcheroo or combination or versus against a low-tier pro league and stuff like that. I think this could be really, really cool for sports. I think something that can make it more popular even with the D-League NBA and things like that, and it makes it more competitive for even the professionals to have to be better and better each year. If you're a bench player, be scared. Outside of that, though, here in New York, our governor has made a lot of rules, but said that it's okay for schools to open. Now, I know a lot of people were upset by this, and a lot of people are happy about this, mostly those who don't want to watch their own damn kids. But here's what it is. If schools were closed to prevent the spread of COVID-19, then it doesn't make sense to reopen them. It just doesn't. I don't care how many rules you put in place, protective measures, this, that, and the third. Schools are where germs spread the most. Little kids don't care. You tell them put on a mask, it'll be on for 5 seconds before they get annoyed by it. The string is itchy. I can't breathe. It's so hot. Every complaint in the world, right? Besides the fact that they pick their noses, dig up their butts, touch each other all the time. If you can't stop the common cold, you can't stop chickenpox, you can't stop the flu. You can't stop every other thing that spreads. You can't stop lice. Mofos get close enough where their hair is touching hair. We're talking microorganisms, and they're just body hopping. Look, COVID is going to spread in school. So parents, if you are the worrywarts who are also, you're so worried about COVID, but so resistant to getting your antibody test, right? And I have the number of people where this just irks me, where you're going to go and you're so worried about COVID, but you don't know if you ever had it. You don't know if you're immune to it, but you just want to make sure you never get it, and you probably already got it in all reality. Just don't send your kids to school. Regardless of how you feel, babysitters, this and that, don't send your kids to school. A lot of jobs are still offering remote work options until the vaccine is made. And the government's still giving out $400 a week because of something that just happened this past weekend. And there's just don't send your kids to school. If you're a worrywart, don't send your kids to school. It's that simple. There's no reason to criticize Cuomo for trying to keep industry standard, right? I don't agree with it because of his excuse of why they closed in the first place. And knowing how schools work, anything and everything is going to spread. There's a reason why they don't even let kids come to school without their shots, just to even try and prevent stuff from spreading. So until there's a vaccine, schools should be closed. But since Cuomo's opening it, if you're a worrywart parent, it's plain and simple, telecommute your kid to school. Everybody else who either doesn't care or already knows or figures or actually got the blood test that you got antibodies, enjoy school back in September. Parents enjoy being able to have hours away for your kids. Even if you're working from home, you just need the space. You're welcome. Thank the governor, even if you don't agree with it, because now you have your space and your mental health is important. But speaking of the $400, this past weekend, despite a lot of verbal, war with him and Congress and, all the back and forth and people, Trump signed off on the bill to keep a couple of COVID rescue measures available to people. So what he signed allows for still tax deferral if you have to pay your taxes. It still just allows for that to be pushed back even further. Student loan debt pushed back even further. Not eliminated. I just got to remind y'all, taxes are still going to be due. Student loans are going to need to be paid. It also prevents people from, or tries to prevent people from evicting, so it makes evictions harder in a time where Congress actually slipped up and allowed it so that landlords could start evicting people. So Trump signed something to help push measures to keep evictions from happening. And the other thing, he pushed it, or he signed to push for $400 weekly stipend instead of $600 that you people who did absolutely nothing got, while essential workers were getting nothing extra for their time and their risk and everything like that. And when I say essential workers, please remember that I'm not someone talking about nurses and doctors. They make enough money. I'm talking about the guy who had to go and make sure that he still fried your chicken at Popeyes. I'm talking about the guy who's still working at the deli down the block, the people at the grocery store, the people who are stuck having to watch buildings that were completely empty, who do security. I feel so bad for you. Like, y'all should have got all the time off. Lock the damn doors and let me go home. Look, essential means that in order to feed your family, because your job said we're still open, you had to go, otherwise you wouldn't be getting this money. You guys deserve to get the extra $200, $400. I don't even care if it's a damn quarter. You guys deserve extra money, while everyone else sitting on their butts should have just got their regular checks on unemployment with nothing extra. It's ridiculous to me that we can pass even further more money, more free money to people not working than people who are forced to risk their lives in this pandemic. This thing's so scary, the whole world shut down, and all the people who didn't get a chance to get time off and watch Netflix got nothing extra. That is ridiculous to me. Or maybe I'm just crazy, who knows. But yeah. Yeah, funny. No, I'm mad as hell about that. But that's still not even what irks me right now. I'm gonna get to that. But there were some lighter side of things lately. So one of them that cracked me up, and I know for some people they're like, this is lighter. So there was a 19-year-old guy who decided to try and rob a food place with a knife for some fries. Like, he just wanted free fries, so he walked up into a food joint with a knife. I believe this happened out in Wales. I know a lot of the UK has it where, like, guns aren't necessarily the biggest problem. The cops don't necessarily have to walk in the street with guns. They may have a baton, they may have a taser, but they don't have actual guns. But if you really think that you're gonna walk into your local version of McDonald's with a knife and get free fries, I commend him for the level of stupidity that was necessary to even attempt this. But, I mean, this dude was easily caught, captured, arrested, and made a joke all over the internet for even attempting this. For fries. Like, he didn't even want a meal with fries. He just wanted some fries. This poor 19-year-old boy was just that hungry. He really, really loves potato. On the media side of things, they have announced a John Wick 5. John Wick 4 hasn't even come out yet, right? And I think it was scheduled for next year. Matrix 4, John Wick 4, Keanu Reeves Day to be in 2021. But they have announced that that John Wick 5 is actually going to be filming immediately after they finish up the recording and filming of John Wick 4. So I don't know how to feel about this, because now you already told me that, like, there's going to be more John Wick after this storyline might possibly conclude, or either you are going to stretch out this storyline so thin, because I honestly didn't think they was going to get past 3, that you found a way to make a 5th movie. I don't know how to feel about this, conflicted on that front, but I do know that if Keanu Reeves is given a gun and time to fight people with pencils, I will watch the movie. Despite me absolutely hating the story, I will watch just to see him kick butt. I just hope that you guys do not do what Fast and Furious has done and just make things so nonsensical. You watch the first movie and you say to yourself, how did we get here? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to watch Fast and Furious movies. I just love the action. I'm a sucker for explosions and fist fights. But I really do, like, after I finish watching the movie, like, wow. Yo, do you remember when Paul Walker was playing, like, a fake prisoner? And everybody's just like, oh, yeah, that's how we started this. Every time I watch a new Fast and Furious, I have to go back to that to be like, we literally just watched a plane on a runway for like 20 minutes before trying to take flight as they're fighting, and like, I think there was a tank and all that. I was just like, what the hell is going on here? But yeah, so John Wick 5 announced. I just want to see where they go with it, I guess, but I would love the fighting. And on the anime side of things, there have been a lot of complaints lately about a character from My Hero Academia. For those of you who are otaku, Boku no Academia. But like, this character is essentially a big perv, right? His name is Mineta. He has the ability to throw like gravity sticky balls from his head. And he's this really short guy who's really perverted and like hits on every girl who breathes. Now, in 2020, especially 2020 America, people have a major issue with such a blatantly misogynistic, perverted character. And a lot of the fan base has been, especially the female fan base, has been asking, why is he here? Why is he still in the story? We've already told you don't like him. Why do you keep him around? He's such a one-note character, and it's a bad note to play. All of it absolutely understandable. I just have to say this to everyone who hates on Mineta. It's anime. Not like, oh, it's anime, it doesn't matter. No, it's anime. Anime has a large tradition from almost every genre, but specifically if you have any ichi ecchi component to your storyline, there's normally that one character who all they think about is sex. And not just that, but like literally like they're obsessed with women and their boobs, right? I think in Bleach it was even a female who was this kind of a character. Anime does this. There's always that character. someone, threw out the argument, well, in some of those stories, you still care about their characters. Like, there's full character development. This guy is just his one note. I'm like, well, yeah, there are many a story, especially action series. Sometimes it's a bad guy, sometimes it's a good guy. It's always a side character who is this person, and that's who he is. That's what he plays, and that's why when he has his moments of bravery and this and the third, it completely breaks everything you know about him. Like, his hero self is not himself. And I think that's the whole point, is that each of these characters, a lot of them, the way that they seem to like the public isn't who they are. So we're getting to see them behind the scenes. We're getting to see them behind, the glory of saving the day. They're overcoming their weaknesses. They're overcoming their personal strives. And the whole point is to kind of humanize the heroes in all aspects. This even means that some of your heroes, guys, suck. You can meet tons of celebrities, and you ever hear people go like, oh yeah, they were really great, and then you ever hear the other ones who go like, no, they suck. They're an a-hole in person. I can't believe, like, I have to stop supporting. Like, that's how it works. So the reality of the situation is Mineta is that hero who can do his job, but you absolutely hate him when he's not doing his job. Let it go, folks. Just let it go. And we're going to go to our next commercial break. When it comes back, I'm going to tell you what irks me and go on a little rant about that, because I honestly don't know how this is still happening. So, Charles, if you could, please take us to our next break.
Hello, I'm Charles Roman. I'm proud to announce a new internet television station called LBM Network. And on this station, we're going to be bringing you live talk shows, music reviews, independent music artists, videos, sports, live events, and much, much more. Go to www.lbmnetwork.net for more information and all the shows that are going to be on this network. Again, that's www.lbmnetwork.net. And hey, if you're an independent artist or you love to hear independent music, go to our new radio station called LBM Radio. Go to www.ldmradio.com for more information on where to listen or submit your music.
All right, so we're back. Now, what's been irking me lately, even more so than the fact that people not working are getting free money, is the fact that people who aren't working and getting free money are getting so much money that they're not going back to work with jobs available. Now, someone tried to tell me that there are no jobs available right now, nothing's happening. So if you check the Will's Review page on Facebook, every couple of days this past week or so, I've literally been posting jobs that I just go on Indeed, and find jobs, right? I find assistant jobs and security jobs and government jobs. The U.S. Postal Service is hiring, right? Stuff that's local to New York that, I can find quickly because I'm here in New York. If you want, I'll even start switching up zip codes every now and again to try and find jobs in Ohio and this and the third. Look, folks, the jobs are out there. The fact of the matter is, you either A, think you're too good for what positions are available, which is often the case. B, don't have any work experience, and thus it's hard to find a job. And you know what? It would be even without COVID. So I'll cut you guys some slack. People want you to have work experience, but never want to give you a chance to work. That never made sense to me. And then at the same time, you just have people who do the math, right? And they're just like, it doesn't pay for me to work. Let me ride out unemployment for as long as I can before I have to go back to work. And then there's also a fourth group, and that's just people who, as jobs are opening, they're not calling you back because you were about a month away from getting fired anyway. And so, if you were working at Marshall's and, you were one of those lazy guys, always late, complaining about having to do your job, this, that, and the third, and they haven't hired you back, well, bro, they're open. You need to start applying to Gap. That's just the reality of the situation. So it blows my mind when I've actually heard people tell me like, oh, I'm not working it because like they're just not hiring anywhere. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, they're just not hiring anywhere. First and foremost, for those of you who took the time to get licensed for security, and I say that because some people get their license to do security when they can't work any other job because security is always hiring. Guess what? Security's been hiring, been working, right? I understand people who are afraid to go and do hospital jobs. Guess what? Hospitals were hiring at one point. People talking about losing money, this and the third. Whether or not they were losing money, I don't know about all that. All I know is they were offering jobs, multiple positions, not just nurses and doctors. They're hiring for security. They were hiring for patient transporters. They were hiring for kitchen staff. Why? Because everyone was so paranoid that even base level staffing was hard to do sometimes. If they lost any money, it's probably because they had to pay out so much overtime, let alone the number of people who don't have insurance that had to go to the hospital for free because it's COVID. But I mean, they were just paying out money out the wazoo in overtime to all positions, right? They were trying to hire people for multiple positions, and they still are. They're still understaffed. So guess what? Since most of you people probably have antibodies because of the exposure, just kind of the way it works in a city congested as New York, and in other areas as well. If you are in a major city, hospitals are hiring right now. Take a look. Don't tell me there are no jobs. Take a look at your local hospital. You're already probably vaccinated by yourself. You got the natural vaccine, right? You lived through it. That's where you could be looking right now. Factories. FedEx was hiring recently in our local area. I'm sure there are other FedEx places that are hiring, other postal service places that are hiring because they need people who not just deliver, but to stock, store, and organize. So even if you don't want to be the person on the truck, you don't want to be the person going door to door to door, you don't have to. They're hiring for people to just work the back. And believe me, especially if we're talking U.S. Postal Service, it's probably not doing much work because whenever I go to the post office, it just takes a year and a day for anything to get done, even to get a stamp. You guys won't have to you're going to get paid with benefits to do absolutely nothing all the time. The government is hiring. Remember before I was telling you that Trump was making it so that way college degrees were not mandatory for government positions? Well, guess what? Whether or not you're trying to get a high-profile job or not, you don't need a college degree for certain government jobs. You don't have to test for certain government jobs. You just have to apply online. USAjobs.com, and they're hiring for multiple positions in multiple states and multiple agencies all across the board. Look at it. Like, I can't believe that people actually have the nerve to tell me there are no jobs. You know how many people lost jobs during this at the start of it? And that happened because us to pre-phase the hell that nonsense was. And then phase are opening up. More jobs are becoming available. Just makes sense. So if you are someone who is somehow just bankrolling all this extra money because you just did the math and you're making more money now getting your unemployment plus the bonuses, you're an a-hole. But I can't get mad at you. At least your excuse is that you're an a-hole. But if you're someone whose excuse is I'm not working because there are no jobs, look, swallow your pride and get back to work. People are mad at, a lot of minority people will end up taking all these jobs and they're not union jobs and so on. Well, guess what? You're not taking the jobs. You're not. These guys are fulfilling the needs. A lot of you people wouldn't want to be, working on lawns. A lot of you people wouldn't want to be going out there and picking fruit. Oh, hell, my whole people don't want to go back to doing that. No, a lot of you guys don't want to be the person working at McDonald's, right? You just had an amazing job making over $80,000 a year, doing Lord knows what office. Now your position may not even be there. You can't telecommunicate doing your job. Your company might have even folded. I mean, when GNC, a company that big, folds, anybody's business can fold, right? You're working at a mom and pop shop. They couldn't survive COVID. Guess what? McDonald's is open, bro. Like, I know it's not your dream job. I know it's not what's always there, but it's something that can hold you down. You might have to cut back on the way that you were living life is the reality of the situation. Because Trump, the guy everyone hates, just saved you with a little bit of bonus money, right? Like he said, you know what? We can't do 6, but we'll give you 4, right? 400 being some people's whole paycheck before COVID at times in various states across the country. Not everybody has a minimum of $15 like New York. So really think about that. He's giving you a whole week's pay plus unemployment. But that's going to last but so long. So when you get used to this extra money and you're left with just your unemployment, if even that, you're going to be looking back for work. And hopefully you do that in time. because people are hungry right now. People who weren't able to work before and have been looking to jobs throughout this entire thing, they're going to be taking these jobs that are popping out now because you're too good for it, because you're collecting your unemployment now. You got to be thinking long term, folks. I'll do my part. When I see it seem like they're open to people from all over, I'll post them. I'll, whatever random stuff I stumble upon that gets sent to me in my email and things like that, I'll post them for you guys. I'll post them on the Rules Review page. You just got to look. I'll show you what I have if you're from New York. If you guys want me to show you other states, other states. As far as California, shoot me a message. If you're saying I'm, Randy from Oakland, I'm looking for work, I will take time out of my day to try and find you what postings are in your area. But all I ask is you actually try and apply. Don't be picky about it. Whatever I find, I find. I found what you couldn't. So do your part. And do your part, America. I don't want to hear in 6 months from now, oh, you missed your opportunity now. Everybody's hiring. You may not be in the field of your dreams. College kids, right now, especially since you get to telecommute to school, take it. Watch when your parents have to come to you and be like, I need some money. Like, real talk. There's nothing that feels better than that. I can tell you that from personal experience. There's nothing that feels better than that when you can be like, Mom, I got you. Some people feel good about it. Like, I can finally give back. Nah, son. It's great to son your parents. It's just a fact. Everybody, you've always wanted to do it in the back of your head, and when you finally get a chance to do it. So college kids, take these jobs. Across the board. They're open for you. Because you can telecommute. A lot of the jobs that are out there aren't even like all intensive. A lot of part-time jobs available. A lot of full-time jobs available. A lot of telecommute jobs available. People who don't want to leave your home. Make that bread from your bed. You get what I'm saying? But don't go out there and tell me there's no work. I'm really tired of hearing people say there's no work right now. The only thing Trump might have even done throughout all this was create jobs. They created jobs just to trace how people got COVID, folks. They gave you jobs just to find how people were getting this disease. If no other job was created throughout the entire thing, is to contact tracers. That's it. And you didn't have to have any medical experience to get that job. Nothing. They have jobs in hospitals that require no medical experience, and hospitals need workers. So if you have nowhere else to look for a job, look at hospitals. That's literally that easy. Every state, every city, there's a hospital. There's a job there. If you were someone who was hungry enough to work right now, go look at a hospital, all right? And before we go, something that's trending on the internet is something that I'm loving it way too much right now. It's all these Google searches, right? Like, I don't know who messed with the algorithm, but if you Google some random things, click on the images, they don't match. I think the most recent one that I was just looking at now, white American doctor or something like that. Google that, right? The web search will show you a bunch of stuff. It'll even show you some links to doctors. Click images and see what you see, all right, folks? On that note, we're going to go to our last commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do our Fans of the Weeks and what we all come here for, the movie and show reviews, all right? So, Charles, if you could, take us to our next and last break. Hey everybody, I'm Lil D.
I am Javier Luis.
I'm Alex Polanco.
I'm Apollonia Cruz.
And I'm Kelly Caboose.
I am Charlie Phillips.
I am Emmanuel Anzule.
Do you know 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence
During their lifetime.
And domestic violence and abuse can happen to anyone,
regardless of gender, race, or other factors.
2 out of 3 homicide cases are
females who were killed by a family member or intimate partner.
As domestic violence victims, they face high rates of depression,
sleep disturbances,
anxiety,
flashbacks, and other emotional distresses.
And without help, witnesses of domestic violence are more vulnerable to become abusers themselves,
thus continuing the cycle of violence in the next generation.
Hello, I'm Charles Aloma. Join the LDM network and Safe Horizon and take a step into changing these facts. So if you are or know someone that is being abused, please call the City Domestic Hotline at 1-800-621-4673. So that is 1-800-621-HOPE.
Speak up,
speak out, and make a difference.
And just know that you don't have to deal with this alone. There is help.
we're back. So first, we're gonna start off with our fans of the week. So Charles, you have those ready? All right. So I believe our first fan is Unica Shy on Facebook, who I think this is about her second or third time winning this. And then we have Bilal Bilal, which this is his second time. I'm still waiting to find out why the name is so nice. They named him twice. On the Instagram side, we have Nessa on your neck, as Charles likes to refer to as hips. We also have Alex, who's a friend of mine from college, so shout out to you. I think that's a picture of him and his girl up there. Then we have Miss Badass. And last but not least, my cousin Thomas. I got a lot of Thomases on Instagram, I realize. I got a lot of Thomases. I think I have like 4 or 5 people on my page named Thomas, and I'm just like, why so many Thomases? Not on Facebook, but on Instagram. So shout out to all 6 of y'all. Thanks for showing mad love the last 2 weeks. And then our picture of the week is one that I think is a big conundrum. I think in these times of pandemic and economic issues and housing market being in flux and stuff like that, I think we have to really focus on some of the really big problems in the world. And so I ask of you this very big problem. Where would a giraffe put their tie on? The top, all the way at the top by the face, or all the way at the bottom, by the chest, by the sternum, by the the core? I can't figure it out. Like, where does the giraffe's neck start, and where does it finish? Now, my guess would be they would wear the tie more so at the bottom, because if you ever met a long-necked person, and normally I find that women have very long necks, but occasionally you meet a guy with a really long neck, he doesn't wear it by the top of his throat. Normally it's wherever the shirt collar is, so it's by his collar. It's going to be down here. I would assume the same for a giraffe. I don't know. Charles, would you go with that? Or would you be the type to go with the top of the bottom? Yeah, Charles is going with the bottom of the neck too. Okay, cool. That's just me. That's my logic. But it looks funny because the neck is so long that if you want to put it at the top, I don't think there's a actual set course of manner to do this. So I think you're allowed to get away with that. But I would suggest putting it towards his chest.
Is this the chicken and the egg? Which one comes first type of thing?
Something's very similar to that. Yeah, something similar to that. I guess it's just that this is one of those really big conundrums I think we really should be thinking about right now in these very turbulent times. So really, I need you to ponder this and get back to me. Where should the tie go on a giraffe? Let me know. All right. But let's get down to these series, these movies. There are a bunch that I've gotten to see for you guys. So first off, I went on a huge binge of Shameless, right? Shameless is on Netflix. They dropped the latest season. Thing about it is, I've literally been stocking up on Shameless seasons because I got really annoyed that by the time I would find out about a current season of Shameless running, because the internet doesn't seem to be on a big Shameless fan base for me, and I don't really watch TV straight unless it's wrestling anymore, so I don't see commercials for it. I find out about Shameless like episode 4 into a season, and I already know, nope, I'm not starting there. So I had to watch like 4 seasons of Shameless. That was, not to say it was rough in a bad sense. It was just like, that was a lot of TV. And you know what? It was worth it. But getting down to the most recent drop of season 10, I give it a near perfect score. I was very worried about it, right? We're having a season without Emmy Rossum, who, she played Fiona Gallagher, the eldest Gallagher child. And a lot of the show revolved around her and her life. Her and Lip and the father kind of run the show, and everybody else is a side character to them most of the time. But without her, the show actually, it seemed to still work. I think they definitely put more of a burden on Lip. They took away a lot from the father, and they started giving a lot more of the story to every other character on the cast too. I'm glad it's a good season, but I gotta admit, I miss Emmy's character. I miss Fiona Gallagher. There's just something about her besides being hot, and she's obviously hot. But like her character is such a mix of has it all together and has her entire life falling apart that it makes her worth watching. I know that going into seasons 8 and 9, there were a lot of contract dispute issues. She was asking for money that she rightfully deserved, really carrying the brunt of the storyline to get equal pay with William H. Macy, who plays the father and, you know, is probably the most experienced actor in the entire cast. But the back and forth about it, I think, led to Fiona having to be cut out of the story. So fortunately, if you are a Shameless fan who was waiting for binge watch the last season on Netflix. It's definitely worth a watch. I think the only thing that's off about it is that you really do feel the loss of Fiona. Just something about the show without her doesn't feel like everything we fell in love with 9 seasons prior to it. Then we also have a series called Reboot, The Guardian Code. Now, for me, I was a huge Reboot fan back in the day on Cartoon Network, right? It used to be a cool animated series that took place in a digital world with weird CGI graphics for its time. I was such a huge fan that when I saw this show originally hit Netflix, I was already hesitant to even watch it, knowing it couldn't be as good. I've watched episodes of Reboot, and if you want, you can try and you can find some of them on YouTube. Like I said, it's a really old 90s grainy CGI kind of a thing, but it's still really fun to watch and really cool, I think, especially when you consider the graphics for its time. Watching this new series just felt like really, really bad. I think that's all I can say. Like, it's nothing wrong with the show. I think the show tries to mix a bit of new age with the old school storyline. The graphics do get better. I think the graphics are probably, you know, they're modernized, they're up to date. But it's just kind of like, it just doesn't hit the same way. So I feel like if you watch Reboot before, you're not going to enjoy this new series as well. It's about a bunch of high school kids who find a way to connect into the cybernetic realm, and they essentially take on the job of the old characters from Reboot, trying to stop the viruses from taking over and destroying the system. And, you know, it's very simple. It's nothing complicated. But that mix of real world and digital world could have been something, you know, really dope and awesome if they had added more of that to the old series. I don't think it really worked this way, but I'll still give the series a 3 out of 5. There's nothing inherently wrong with it other than basic, like, it's a show for teenagers, so it's kind of corny. But as a Reboot fan, I wanted to like it, but I knew I probably wouldn't, and I don't think a lot of old Reboot fans will like it either. So just putting that out there, 3 out of 5 for Reboot, The Guardian Code. We also had a drop of another a remake of old stuff. So Transformers dropped a new series, which is about the war that took place on Cybertron. Right. I think if you watch the Transformers movies, especially if you watch the old shows, all the way to Beast Wars, if you know the comic series and the late series, like if you know Transformers, you know it. But for those who watch the movies, this series really talks about the stuff that led to the Autobots and the Decepticons having to come to Earth. Point blank period. That's what this series is about. So it's about the war that took place on Cybertron. You know, the Optimus Prime rebellion, the whole thing against the Decepticons taking over their planet and almost destroying everything. It explains why the Autobots are, you know, a crew of like 20 people versus the entire Decepticon army that never seems to end, and they're always finding new people. It's really good, though. It's really good. I was surprised by how much I liked it. But a lot of these later year Transformers series, they touch on parts of the stories that people wanted to know about before. They have really cool graphics. They introduce some new Autobots, new Decepticons, and they keep all the classic ones that you know and love and help develop the story. I don't know why they keep making Transformers movies when they really could just focus on these animated series that they've been making. It's really good, folks. If you are a Transformers fan, you'll like it. If you're a Transformers fan of the movie, you will probably like this series too. I think it's very well done. I got to give this series a 4 out of 5. It has a lot of entertainment value. But again, you got to remember the target market isn't necessarily all of us old people. So yeah, a couple cliche moments there. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely very good. Anime folks, this one's for you guys. An awesome series called Goblin Slayer became really popular last year. The series was a pretty short run, straight to the point, but awesome character development, action scenes, the graphics, everything about this show was right. If you didn't like Goblin Slayer, you don't know anime. Point blank period. So Goblin Slayer dropped a movie recently on Crunchyroll. And the thing about it is, the first maybe 45 minutes to an hour is essentially summing up everything from the Goblin Slayer series. For that reason and that reason alone, I give this a 3.5 out of 5. I understand they wanted to establish a few things. If they had done something in 15 to 20 minutes to kind of run through the legend of the Goblin Slayer, it literally is about half of this movie that is the entire series that we just watched, which A, now made me mad that I watched an entire series if I could have watched just, like 45 minutes. But B, feels like a waste of developing a new tale. The best part about Goblin Slayer is developing the world and the characters, even more so than the action scenes. It's very rare that I say that. They made you care as to why this guy is so obsessed with killing the goblins, right? It seems very simple, very straightforward, but no, they made you care. Like, you were really rooting for him, not because he was the main character, but because he deserved all the revenge that he wanted. All the other characters that joined him, you knew exactly why they were in this fight. This movie is not a bad movie, though. When they get to the new part of the story, it's actually really cool. It's really interesting, all the way down to the final fight. They develop more of the characters, the world, but also more of what we know about the goblins. I think that's another interesting thing that they did. They made you interested in learning more about the bad guy. They explained that there are different levels and different types and abilities. I thought it was a pretty good portion of why I watched the show, is that I like the bad guys. It's like, why do people like Batman and Spider-Man? It's not just that they're dope, it's that their villains make it worth watching. Goblin Slayer has the same appeal. Goblins are a fun bad guy to watch because they're messed up. They're messed up, and you want to learn more about why and how they're messed up. So I give it a 3.5 out of 5 just because if you've watched Goblin Slayer, the first half of this is almost pointless. It literally just introduces a new character. That's all. That's the only point to that first part. They've added something to the main storyline. But if you've never seen Goblin Slayer, watch this movie, Goblin King, and see, because then you can watch to how everything was fully developed through the season. We also have a series called Get Even. And this is on Hulu. And it's the story of a bunch of high school girls who don't get mad. They get even. You have 4 girls from different ethnic backgrounds and classes who dominate a rich private school in the UK secretly. They're like, what was that show, Gossip Girl? Right? They reveal all people's secrets and set things up. So in the course of doing one of their, we got to show how bad this person is, there's a murder case because that person dies. And now the cops are looking for the group that has been terrorizing the school on the low. A lot of this show seems very simple. It is definitely a teen show, no doubt. But some of the twists and turns until about the last 2 or 3 episodes were really fun to watch. The acting isn't top of the line, but it is entertaining. I think this is a pretty well-written show, especially for a teen program. It has a lot of fun. I got to give this series a 3.5 out of 5. I feel like for those of you who like this sort of thing, you'll love it. For those of you who this isn't really your sort of thing, you'll find yourself laughing at things that you probably wouldn't want to admit to laughing to. Just plain and simple. It's a pretty good show. It's really entertaining. Again, that's Get Even on Hulu. Check that out. Another series that was on Hulu was a series called Max. Now, this is a story about a pop singer in the UK whose career just went down and he's trying to climb back up. Nothing brand new. It's definitely not like Good Luck Chuck. It's 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 a 3 out of 5 series. I can't tell you to watch it. I really wouldn't want to be like, no, this needs to be watched. You should watch it. I feel like this has a niche market. I feel like there are a lot of people who may enjoy some of the comedy, some of the singing moments. I feel like every other character but Max, though, is more entertaining than Max. So a show where the lead is not as good as everybody else, and it's not that 70s show, I said it, that show is automatically a 3 out of 5. That means you can skip it. If you want to give it a shot, give it a shot. But I wouldn't waste my time with this series. It was pretty corny. And again, everyone other than the main character you're focused on following is actually way more entertaining than the main character. I don't know why that is. I don't know who wrote that, but they needed to fix that. Last but not least, we have the big, reveal in the last 2 weeks was the Umbrella Academy, right? They dropped season 2. This is probably one of the most anticipated shows on Netflix for 2020. And I don't think it disappointed. I give the season a 4 out of 5. For me, it's that they kind of sort of did the same thing. Overall, the plot is like, we gotta save the world, right? And what superhero series isn't really that? There's always some doomsday or evil villain. But essentially, they had the exact same issue. Our sister is going to destroy the planet. We have to stop it from happening. What makes this season really good is that they jump back in time to the JFK assassination. And I feel like every character really comes into themselves as an individual in this particular season. So the character growth, the ability, how they break down the organization that is keeping up with all the time traveling dimensions and that, how it formulates, how they even introduce a lot of new characters. They introduce concept that just kind of makes sense, but no one ever wanted to talk about. Like, really, the fact that they mentioned how many people gave birth that day, but only how many of them had powers. A lot of this show, I don't want to give it, like, the best part about each big reveal, but they do a really good job at developing this world, at developing the characters, at even the action sequences are pretty good. I just loved that they really incorporated a lot of what actually was going down, as far as racism at this time period. I like that they brought in, like, the JFK assassination itself into the main storyline. Like, there was very purposeful, it was very intentful. It actually had a big part to do with what was happening in the storyline. They took some stuff from the comics and added it into this. And then at the very end, right, when you think, you're going to get that, not necessarily a typical ending in the sense that everything's all good, but you think you're going to get an ending that kind of, will leave most questions answered, I should say, in a series like this. They just drop a whole new load on you just as the season ends. Like, I'm talking the last 30 seconds, you're just like, huh? What? Can't wait for season 3. I hope they continue to do this. If you are really getting into this, it is a comic, folks. Like, y'all really need to stop talking about, it takes forever for the new show to come out. You know why it does? Because they got to get it right. Because the actual comic version of this, something that it was originally written and drawn and all that, that's been out for years, bro. Go pick up a comic. If you are so in love with Umbrella Academy, you have no patience. You binged all of it in a day, and you're like, I need my fix. How long? Pick up a comic. Go to a comic store if you can find one. Hell, go on Amazon. Buy it. That's all you need to do. Folks, this has been another episode of Will's Review. Catch you guys next time.